Let's see. Oh man, y'all are already into hizzy fo shizzy. Steve Cochran. Pralin fjucht. I'm very insecure about that growth on my wiener. This is show and tell, isn't it? No, but actually, we can talk about that sort of thing on the podcast. We can talk about all kinds of things. What's up, Steph? We can talk about all kinds of things that we don't talk about on the YouTube channel. So this won't be for everybody. I'm totally cool with that. We got about 8 people in here. I don't care at all how many people are in. We're going to be talking about the Icy Mike Imperfect podcast. This is not specifically going to be about fitness and self-defense, though most of my friends and colleagues and peers are in that space. So invariably, that's what we'll be talking about a lot, especially early on. But the real topic of the podcast is fears, insecurities, imperfections, things we hate about ourselves, things we don't like about ourselves, things that we've never told anyone about ourselves. That's going to be the topic of conversation. What's up, Neptune? And the coolest thing is that anyone can be on it. Literally anyone and everyone. It's going to be live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Podbean app. Now I'm going to put a link down there below. There'll be a link somewhere for the actual, the landing page of the podcast, which looks something like this. This is at icymike.podbean.com as of right now. No posts are found because they're only going to be live episodes to start with. Adam Prostick says, no, I'm scared. I don't want to be on the podcast. Dude, I'm going to tell you what, being on this podcast might be one of the scariest things that anyone does. If I get some good practice, if I get good at it and I'm doing it the way I want to do it, this podcast, coming on it, should be one of the scariest things in the world for a guest, and for me doing it, it's one of the scariest things in the world. And I guarantee that during the course of this podcast, I will ruin a friendship or relationship with somebody. That's 100% a plan. I'm not planning to do that, but the way that the content is going to be structured, the way the conversations are going to go, it's going to be impossible for that not to happen. Invariably, Jesse Ritchie, thank you so much for the super chat. How's it going, bub? Nice to see you use this platform for some good subjects. Yes, so I've always wanted to do some stuff like this. I've tried to work on another YouTube channel just that's about me and my thoughts or whatever, but I can't use the Hard to Hurt channel for this stuff because I don't want to alienate these viewers. People subscribe to Hard to Hurt for a certain type of content, and I want to continue to bring them that and not, ruin it by talking about a bunch of like esoteric, cerebral, nerd stuff. Let's see. Ian McFadden. I'm late in trying to piece together what's happening. Ultra Human. What's up? This is an awesome idea. Yes, Ultra Human. Rachel, you would be a great person to have on this. I'm sure you would have a lot to offer. So Ian McFadden, don't worry. I'll go over it again. There's a link down in the description below to our first live episode. It'll be Wednesday at 9. You use the Podbean app, and there's a live chat. Like, while the podcast is going on, there's a live chat, something like the comments that's going on right now. I'll be able to read it. There'll be a little button where when we open it up, anybody can jump on, just like going live on Instagram, but this will be all audio. So you can sign up with whatever kind of alias you need to, but it's, the idea will be that we're going to discuss things that we're uncomfortable with. So only come on if you're willing to share something embarrassing. It's not going to be serious. I realize as I'm saying this, it sounds like it's going to be super serious, but I already have a episode written basically that's stories about me shitting my pants. So it's not always going to be super serious. Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I should have tried harder to get to my dad before he died. That sort of thing. It's not always going to be that. It's going to be, when we shit our pants, our funniest pants shitting stories. Ultra Human, that's great to hear. Yes. Boxing, not to get KO'd on street. Yeah, don't do that. I'm very insecure about that. Very insecure about hitting my head on the street. But Jesse Ritchie, I appreciate you so much. That means a lot. You guys that directly support the channel. I hope you guys checked out the talk I did with Ryan Hoover today about kind of the reality of Krav Maga. I get asked about Krav Maga all the time, and I'm not an expert on it, but Ryan says I'm pretty close. We have some more of that talk with Ryan I'm going to use for some other things. What is the longest time you stopped training? In recent years, like as an adult, the longest time I stopped training was when I first moved here. No, I'd say before that. There was a time I did some Japanese jiu-jitsu for a while, and then I didn't do anything for several years before I started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and boxing. Let's see. Ian McFadden. Now for me, it was a good subject. Like that video. Let's see. I'm going to take a couple, the tactical whip, you took it like a man. That is not true. I mean, I appreciate you saying those nice things because we're friends and all, but you don't got to back me up on that. I did not take it like a man. It hurt very much, and I let everyone know. I'm not going to take a ton of questions because I want this live stream to be palatable for people looking for Anthony Black. Hey, man, you're a good lad. Fight me IRL. Sounds like you're in Europe. Maybe if I ever get over there, if you get over here. Sure, if we can make some money off of it. Advice for joining an MMA gym. Talking about the mental part. Thanks. Yes. So a couple things. One, you should go to a place that makes you feel invited and welcome. Another good source for that sort of thing, I think, is Chujitsu, the YouTube channel Chujitsu. Chewy, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor and YouTuber. And he always discusses things that like don't get discussed a lot, like the insecurities that people have. He's kind of one of the inspirations for the type of content that I do on my channel, as far as like, everyone's like, I need help for beginners. Like, oh, make sure your shoulder touches your chin when you jab. But it's like, no, like I'm scared that I'm too big a pussy and they're gonna make fun of me at the gym, like that sort of thing. That doesn't get touched on because we're all supposed to be big and tough and not scared of that sort of thing. But let's go over this again for those of you just joining us. We're talking about Icy Mike Imperfect. It is at icymike.podbean, icymike.podbean.com. It's live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. we're going to go live on Podbean. You get the Podbean app and you can listen to it live, join in, and like actually be heard on the podcast. Like you can use your phone. You should use headphones if you can, and you can still use the mic on your phone. That way there's no echo, and we're going to work out the kinks as we go. The whole point is that it's going to be imperfect. It's not going to be sleek and stylized and really like perfectly run, but we are going to really get into the idea of the shit that we suck at. That's what we're going to talk about. Let me catch up to the chat. Ryan Liu, I feel like this is perfect since, like you said, you're really good at the beginners who don't know anything, so they're scared of everything. LMAO. Yep. That's exactly what I feel uniquely qualified to do this. I appreciate that. How serious of subjects are you looking for the podcast? The whole gamut, like I said. Shitting ourselves all the way up to feeling like a failure, being afraid of death, and everything in between. And hopefully some of both of that in every episode. Now we're also going to celebrate like our successes. Like when I have guests on, I'm not just going to be like shitting on them and telling them how I think they need to work out more. Or I think their videos suck or whatever. It will be a palatable podcast, but there will be some uncomfortable moments in it. Let's see. Bad reactions to a death in the family. Yes, absolutely. I'd absolutely love to hear about that. Because it's actually an area that I don't know a lot about. I've luckily haven't had to go through that as much as some other people. Does anyone have any questions about the podcast? I'm about to go to a 1 verse 3. Any tips yet? Are you part of the 3 or are you the 1? I'm already sketched out. So, will the topic be known beforehand so that a person knows what they're chiming into? Yes. And it's a live chat. Like you will be listening to the podcast, chatting live just as we are now, and then I will be able to bring people on from the live chat room. Now, early on, and I don't know how a lot of this stuff works. This is my first time using this podcast platform. Early on, there'll be like a limit on how many people can be in there. So make sure you get in early because the Podbean app limits the number of people that can be there. There's an option to allow more or allow people to, and people can pay to come in past that limit, but that's not what I'm trying to that's not what I'm trying to do. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you want to be part of that live audience, just try to get there early. Ultra Human, I'm just excited to listen, trying to get a quiet workspace in my little place. 9 p.m. is midnight here, which is probably good for being a guest because my kids will be asleep. Absolutely. I picked 9 p.m. because it was convenient for me. And you don't have to listen live. It will be available on all the typical podcast platforms later on. So that 9 p.m. slot live, I wanted to feel kind of intimate. I wanted to feel kind of like the people that are there listening, that it's like custom built for them. I appreciate you guys so much. Mr. Ritchie, thank you again so much. If anybody has any questions about the Podbean, hit me up on Instagram. Oh, yeah. If you're here right now, this is what I need you to do right now. After you go get the Podbean app and make sure you are following the Icy Mike Imperfect podcast. There are no episodes up now because they're only going to be live. After they're live, they'll be up. But right now, you go there, there's no episodes, but make sure you're following so that you can go back on Wednesday and be ready and be in the chat room on your phone when it comes up. If you want to be on the show, have your headphones ready. If you right now go to my Instagram, I need help with this part, guys. Go to Instagram. I just made a post about the podcast. It has more details. Go tag somebody that you think would be a good guest. It could be from the martial arts and fitness world, or it can be some shit I don't know about. Go tag anyone that you think would be a good guest, and I'm gonna be going through all that and start hitting those people up and setting up the schedule for the foreseeable future. I appreciate you guys so much. Let me know if you need anything.